All right. And three, two, one, and action. Welcome, everybody, to the Dakota podcasting experience. And I'm Tony Tubes. And it's nice to be. I had some guests. I had Sherry, and I had the Scared of the Dark guys, and I had Timmy Reinbold, and I had Will Robinson last week and everything. And so I just figured right now I was just going to kind of do a solo show again yeah, for today. Um, there's been a lot of there's been a lot of news lately, and goes for. I mean, I don't get a lot of news from out in Rapid City. I do get some, but um, I don't know. Just all over the state, it seems there's been a lot of crime lately that you hear about, and that's the thing. That's the thing that kind of trips me up about it is because, yeah, it seems like there's a lot more crime these days than there was when I was a kid. But I think that honestly, some of it is just the fact that social media exists. Um, but I can't place it all on social media because Aberdeen has had like some drive-by shootings and stuff where there's like bullet holes in buildings and such, and up in my old neighborhood too. So that kind of trips me out a little bit because I was riding my bike around there, when I was a kid, and it was a nice neighborhood. It still is a nice neighborhood. Um, that's the thing about Aberdeen, though, is that I have to hand it to, I for the life of me, I don't know his name, but Mr. Campbell that owns Campbell's Town and Country. Um, he bought my mother's old house, my childhood home, and he restored it, and not to the original. I mean, he gutted that thing, and then he dumped, I think he said like 20 grand into it or something like that. But he did a really good job of bringing that thing some life again, and I just kind of, in talking to him, because I'm one of those guys who, if you're remodeling my childhood home, I might come up and ask you if I can check it out. And he was totally cool with that, and he actually gave me my childhood table. We had this breakfast nook, and he gave me the table and everything, and it's awesome. The table's in my house now and everything, and my kids eat off of it, and there's stickers underneath of it because every time we peel a sticker off a piece of fruit, tell them to put it underneath the table and make a wish, because that's what I used to do when I was a kid. But Mr. Campbell, I was just kind of taken back by the fact that he was just like, if I can, I love this north end at Aberdeen, and if I can take some of it and give it life again, that's what I want to do, because I love the north end of Aberdeen, and I think that there needs to be more of that, because you see everybody these days building their own houses and everything, and then 4 or 5 years later they're moving out and selling them there's no family structure in that regard anymore, it seems. There's no passing down of the family homestead, it seems, anymore. And I was really saddened by that when my grandma had to move out of our family house, and I didn't have the money to buy it or anything like that. And it just sucks that people aren't taking these old homes and restoring them, making them better. If you have 115, 200,000, $300,000 to, build a house or something like that, man. I mean, fucking build one, grab one that's already there that has some life to it, and bring it back to life again. I don't know. I'm kind of an old school guy. Like, I like taking old amps that I find at pawn shops and giving them to Engel's Music Supply so they can revamp them and make them sing again. And I think that that's what Aberdeen's missing. There's so much. I don't want to call it a slum at all. But it's a lot more. There's where the old parts of town are starting to look their age. they're starting to look really old, and a lot of them run down. And there's a lot of slumlords in Aberdeen, and there's slumlords in Redfield too. Not Chris Oberfall though. Chris Oberfall is a wonderful, wonderful man that owns property around the Redfield area, and he's an amazing landlord. Love Chris Oberfall. But I had some great landlords in Aberdeen. I had some shitty landlords in Aberdeen, and but there's a lot of slummy places now. Everything's because North First Street, where I used to live, it was just always really, there was a lot of kids. We had neighborhood kids and everything riding up and down the street all the time. There's always something to do. My dad and I out there on the 800 block of North First Street throwing the ball around and everything. You don't see that anymore. Everything's just so, it's weird to me that we used to be able to do that because like the roads look so much more congested now. And I think it's because like trucks are getting bigger and people are owning more vehicles now than they were back in those days. And it looked more like a neighborhood and not just, I don't know. I don't know like I said, the old parts of Aberdeen, it seems, are just, they're not getting the love that they need. And there's a lot of people out there that would love to, own a house or rent a house. And, they might have bad credit or something like that, but, they're just not able to make it work in the ways of buying a house and stuff. And I think that more people need to, if you don't love these houses and stuff like that, you need to see more rent to own stuff out there and everything. But everybody's just so goddamn greedy. And there's so many slumlords. And I think, my personal opinion, I think that I know people are going to be like, well, you fucking get with the times, man, or something. But I just think that rent should be however many bedrooms there are plus an extra $100. So if it's a 2-bedroom, it should be $300 a month. And I know that doesn't pay the property taxes and all that shit. I know. Everything's fucked up. The whole system is fucking screwed up, man. And it's getting worse, especially in Aberdeen of all places. Like Aberdeen, I love you, Aberdeen, but it's just, sometimes I just feel like you're trying too hard, But I still love Aberdeen. Still love that town to death. It's where I grew up until the 9th grade. Had a lot of really great memories there. And then I moved back there later on and had a lot more great memories there. But and that's why I'm pointing it out that the people in charge in Aberdeen, there's, like everywhere, people put so much pressure on Aberdeen to be that hometown, small town feel and everything like that. But the politics are just as fucking corrupt, as everywhere. As the most corrupt politicians in Washington, D.C., to little small ass towns like Aberdeen, South Dakota, man. It's sad, but it's the fucking truth. And there's going to be more crime. Different crime, too. Especially in this day and age. I think that the migration of other ethnicities and cultures and religions and all that stuff, I think that while I completely welcome them in, welcome, anybody from a different culture, ethnicity, background, country, anything like that. I want to see a big melting pot. But God, when you throw it in with all these good old boys around here, whew, like it's, the very thought of it incites conflict, I think. And not by me. I don't give a shit. Honestly, I'm more afraid of people that come here from around our own country, not other fucking countries. I've seen the best, I have had things proven wrong to me. Like when we first moved here into Redfield, I was like, wow, there's Texans everywhere. There's just Texas people all over the place. And it scared me, But I honestly, I couldn't really tell you a dirtbag one of them. They're all pretty nice people. It frightened me, We fear change. But no, the Texans are good people, man. Good. I mean, fuck, look at Will Robinson right over there. Texans everywhere. But there are people around here from different states that are, Florida manning it up. Like, if you haven't heard of Florida man, you got to Google Florida man, but it's like every single crazy batshit fucking nuts thing that you hear out of Florida. Florida man drowns alligator in pool of beer. Fucking just weird shit like that. Florida man. There's a lot of Florida mans up around here. But no, dude, there's more crime. There's going to be more crime. With more people comes more crime. And Aberdeen really wants more people. When you get more people, you get more crime. And unfortunately, the cost of living in Aberdeen sucks for the size of the town that it is, I think. The cost of living everywhere sucks, but Aberdeen especially kind of sucks. I think Redfield's cost of living isn't too bad. When you start getting up in the $800 and the $900 a month prices for like 3-4 bedroom houses and stuff, you're getting nuts. I think you're getting nuts to think that people are going to be able to afford that. That's why I think that those people are nuts that are charging that kind of money, is because your average normal people can't afford that shit, man. Because at the end of it, you're sitting there and you have your electric bill, and everybody, it seems, online has been talking about the local electric company screwing people up with these, like, not, with them, like, guesstimating the meter all winter and stuff like that. And now they're coming around to the meters and it's like, oh, it's this big fucking thing. But you have your electric bill, you have your water, sewer, garbage right there. Those are essential things. You have your rent. Those are 3 essential things that you have to have. If you want anything else, like phone service, internet, internet, cable, that stuff, it's a luxury, but a lot of people like to have it for a lot of different reasons. Some people need internet at their house for work. And so that's an extra fucking bill and everything that they have right there. You have that stuff. And then if you have a family, you have to think about groceries and gas and all this other shit that's just there that has to be done. And even on a 2-income household, it's hard to fucking do. It's tough. And so there's going to be a lot more poverty. There's going to be a lot more people who are, and what comes with poverty? It brings out the addiction in all of us, doesn't it? And everybody, most poverty-ridden people are addicted to something. I'm addicted to cigarettes. It sucks. But that's the life of poverty people. There's a lot of addiction issues when it comes to poverty people. And I'm not low scale poverty or anything like that. I'm not accepted for like food stamps or anything like that. But if you ask the US government, I am a poor person pretty much. So with all that comes crime. All that crime. And it really depends on what your definition of crime is. But, and that's the other thing, though, is that it's a different world. Back in the day, even back when I was a kid, beating up on your old lady, you didn't hear about it that much because it was a different world back then. As it is a different world these days where there's more whistleblowers when it comes to that, the female community. And the male community too. It doesn't matter, but more people are more comfortable these days because of things like, hey, Law and Order Special Victims Unit. There's all these different things out there to entice them and to make them feel comfortable and to make them feel empowered enough to say, no, fuck you, dude. I'm not doing that shit. I'm not going to get beat up. Fuck you, man. And so they call the cops. Or they sue their fucking ass. Or whatever they have to do, man. More people are doing that. The women didn't call cops back in the day as much. It's a different fucking world. And how many domestic abuse cases do we see? Holy crap. There's so many of them. And I don't know. I mean, and that's the other thing, man, is that some of that is genetic, or learned behavior, but some of it comes from stress. I've never personally, okay, I laid my hands on a woman one time, and this is all that I did. And I felt really weird doing just this, but I had to do something. My girlfriend at the time, not my wife, we lived we lived at that Grant Street apartment complex that just gunshots or something not too long ago. But we lived there. I think it was like apartment 1C up in the corner there, facing the road. But she got mad at me for not doing the dishes. So she started throwing things at me. Like I remember we had a can of Bugler tobacco that was full. And she threw that at me. And then she threw a season of Friends at me. Like a box season of Friends at me. And we're not talking about these days where you can get a season of Friends on like 2 discs at Walmart. No. I'm talking about the 2003 seasons of Friends that were this fucking big coming at my fucking head. Didn't hit me with it though. But I grabbed her shoulders and I just kind of went, knock it off. And that's all I did. Like that is all I did. And that was basically just to, and we worked it out after that. I've never hit a woman. Never hit a woman. In anger. I've never hit a woman where it could be like, considered assault. Like my wife and I, when we lived in Wisconsin, we played the slug bug game a lot, but we had a lot more of them. We had slug bugs, Cadillac whacks, cruiser bruisers. Mini Coopers were like a wild card. We'd be like Cooper Scooper, Pooper Scooper, fucking Cooper Blooper, like anything that came out of our mouths. And we also had what was it? Tracker. When you saw like those old 4x4 trackers, those little like, it basically looked like they took a trapper keeper and made it into a car. Car Jeep thing. Hold on, I need a drink of water. But the trackers were the worst ones to get if you didn't win. Because if you saw a tracker, it was tracker smacker. Smack! And like, so we smacked the shit out of each other, man. Probably not a good idea on the road, but we had fun. Love my wife. But yeah, man, there's a lot more domestic abuse cases. There's a lot more kid stuff, like child pornography and fucking rape and assault and just boils your fucking skin, man. Like, it's so heinous that shit is out there, and I have to worry about that crap. And there seems to be a lot more of it around here than you would think. Fucking sickos, man. Like, seriously. That's, there's not 1 inch of you that has any sort of compassion or anything for those people. Like, you get more compassion out of serial killers. Seriously, people thinking about serial killers going, oh, wow, they really did, have a fucking, bad go of it and everything. And they were really fucked up in the head and everything. And, you can find a tiny bit of compassion for some of those people. But I haven't come across one sexual offender that I can muster even a fucking microbe of compassion for. So yeah, that's my stance on that. Um, but yeah, so people, it's here. It's here. The crime is here. Stop acting like, oh, what's happening in our nice little South Dakota community? It's fucking here, man. You're honestly damn lucky that you don't have the fucking interstate going through here. Because that's one thing that Aberdeen would really, really treasure is to have an interstate go through there. Because that would bring more. I mean, Aberdeen grew up on the fucking railroad, man. It's a railroad fucking town that happened to get to be the main railroad town, so it got pretty big and then all of a sudden it got too big for its britches when highway systems and paved roads and all that shit and flying and everything like that started coming into view. So Aberdeen is that's why I'm saying, man, like sometimes I feel like they're trying too hard. And it's really tough, man. It's really tough. Who knows? I personally think that in the future, all this land that we see around here, all this farmland and everything like that is going to become real estate, and not in the ways of farming. It's going to become. I honestly think that with climate change, global warming, or the threat of nuclear war, the coasts are going to be gone someday. Within the next 100 years, something's going to happen to where the coasts are not going to be livable anymore and people are going to start flowing inward. And so, yeah, I honestly think that there's going to be a fucking skyscraper right where I'm sitting someday. Who fucking knows, man? Where was I? Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. I feel like people are still so naive thinking that, oh, this is our nice little community and everything like that. No, it hits everywhere, man. And honestly, the smaller the community, the tougher the go of it some people have, man. Shit, we had a standoff on my birthday at the fucking hospital, June 25th. Kind of remember that kind of shit. But yeah, man, it's like there's fuck. I remember this standoff. I got to tell this. This was funny. I have this really quiet friend. He's very quiet. He's an awesome guy, but he's just quiet. He speaks when he needs to. And really awesome guy. But a long time ago, couldn't even tell you, maybe 2004, maybe 2003. I don't know. There was a standoff in a neighborhood in North Aberdeen. And my buddy lived in a house that was in the alley across the street from this place. So, you got one block here, and you got a road, then you got another block, and on this block, in the middle of it, is an alley. He lived in that alley. Hold on a second. Who's texting me? Okay. He lived in that alley, so I was going over to his house one day, and I go up to the fucking alley and shit, and I notice that there is police tape across the alley. Police line, do not cross. My buddy's house was literally like you turn into the alley and then you turn into his driveway kind of a deal. It was interesting. So I was like, well, I'm just going to his house. And there was no place to park anywhere else. And so I was just like, screw it. So I just drove underneath the tape really quick and got into his driveway. I parked the car and I got out, and as I get out, this cop is running across the road and the block over to me, screaming at me with his fucking hand in the air, his finger doing this number and shit. And I don't even know what, you should be fucking going underneath that fucking police type, all that shit. And all of a sudden, my buddy comes out of his house. This is my quiet friend. Comes out of his house and proceeds to chew this fucking cop's ass. Like, you get the fuck off my fucking property. Like, you get the fuck off my property and This is my friend. He's coming onto my fucking property. You don't have the right to fucking tell me who I can have on my fucking property. If he wants to take his fucking life into his hands, he can take his fucking life into his hands. Same with me. All this shit just going off on this cop. That cop walked away with his tail between his fucking ass cheeks, man. It was great. That was awesome. Loved it. And I'm not one to fucking be mean to cops. I'm usually pretty nice to cops. Yeah. The crime is here, man. It's always, I did crazy shit when I was a kid. And you know how kids, everything's more complicated these days. Everybody's got to be more complicated and more crazy and outdo everybody. It's a fucking generation of one-uppers, man. That's what we have here. And they all want to be the best at it. They want to do the over the top thing. They want to be the one that is looked at. They want to be the fucking the goddamn YouTube star. They want to be, everything's more complicated these days. Like, for real, dude. Everybody, all these kids and these 20 something year olds and everything, and even people in my age bracket. I mean, people are just getting crazier and crazier these days, man. It's nuts. And so act accordingly, man. Realize that it's here. Realize that people suck. Realize that Aberdeen probably has too many fucking people living in it for how big it is. And if you come to Redfield, there's, unless you have a college degree and you have found this fucking job in Redfield that required this special skill or degree or training or something, and I'm moving to Redfield, South Dakota. I'm moving the whole family there, and everything. Or you're these people who come here for the 1 to 3 or 4 different jobs that people can get around here that actually pay a decent wage, because there's not many of them. And the ones that are out there are taken up, and they've been taken up by the same people for decades. And the moment that they retire or something like that, then, I mean, they're just, the next one is a step up, and then they get their friend's niece or daughter in there to fill their spot and everything. And it's just this big old family unit and everything. So it's really hard to come into Redfield without an agenda, except to make money and to do that. And a lot of people burn a lot of bridges. So, they treat their fucking employers like shit, and then they can't get employed anywhere. But I mean, the crime is still just as prevalent here as it is in Aberdeen. Sioux Falls is, for the past, God, I think the last 10 years I've been sitting there saying, fuck, man, Sioux Falls has a lot of shit going on. But they've always had shit going on. And it's just, there's more and more people. People are having more people. There's a lot of immigration into these, Sioux Falls, Aberdeen, everywhere. There's people coming from all over the country, man. And it's taking away from the mecca that it looks like. Because, yeah, back in 2003, when I first got an apartment, my apartment in Aberdeen was a 1-bedroom apartment. And it was not too bad. And it was $235 a month, everything included, except for phone, internet, and cable. I didn't have to pay for anything. $235 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. That's not too fucking shabby. Yeah. And so, and these days, that apartment would probably go for about $500 in Aberdeen for a 1-bedroom apartment. There's too many fucking people. It's too crowded. And so this vision of, the cost of living is so much, is down so much. It's not going to be like that forever, man. Because you already have nice places to rent around here that are going for $1,000 a month. And that's because, and Redfield is really bad. These little towns are really bad because people buy houses in this town and they don't want to stay in this town. And then they have a really hard fucking time selling their fucking house because people don't want to live here for an extended period of time. Not many of them. And if they do, they want to buy a house, you know? And if they do, then they buy a house and the same thing happens. Then they realize that, or even when they come to want to sell the house to get something different, because the kids are gone now and everything. And it's tough, man. It's really tough to sell houses around here. And then they get scooped up by, by people who rent them out. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. It really just kind of depends, man. But everything's going up. And with the prices going up and the wages kind of hanging around like this, it just invites chaos. So it's not going to get any better, guys. Like, it really isn't. It's not going to get any better. And I'm sorry for that, but it's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse. I think that 2020 is going to bring a lot of changes to this country, though. I do. I think that the outcome of the presidential race in 2020 will bring a lot of changes to this world for a lot of different reasons. But I won't get into that tonight at all. Yeah, so that's kind of my idea on the whole. There's a lot more crime around than there used to be. All the domestic shit being caused by stress, alcohol, because that's a big thing around here. Drinking around here is a really huge thing. Don't know if you guys knew that or not, but it is. So yeah, you have alcohol-infused shit, you have stress-infused shit, you have learned behavior infused shit, all that stuff, so there's more violence. There's still violence against the LGBT community around here. There's violence against, I'm sorry, I love the Zoo Bar, but, that kind of crowd, there's a lot of violence around, man. There's a lot of really angry people that like to, not saying that, you can't be angry and non-violent, because, I can get pretty steamed, but I'm not violent at all. But yeah, man, I just think that the world's changing, and it's even changing in these little ass towns and shit, man. And that's why you don't see a lot of little ass towns anymore, because they're dying out, because they're depressing places to live. So you really have to look at that when it comes to all the crime that happens there and everything. And so, and all the drinking, all of the substance abuse and everything like that comes with small towns and even small communities like Aberdeen. It's really stressful, like, looking out on the world from a place like that. At least to me. It's really stressful to have to, it's like we're in a fishbowl and we're just sitting there looking out at this world that we can't get to, really, So that causes a lot of shit. That's why people wanted to leave these fucking places, man. That's why, like, almost every kid that I ever grew up with in Aberdeen and Jamestown and everything like that, they're just like, oh my God, I want to get the fuck out of this town. It's fucked, man. Little towns, it's a whole different kind of, I don't know, stressor. For some people, depression. For some people, just frustration. It's a whole different kind of a life, man. And some people are made for it. Some people aren't. And unfortunately, the aren'ts, they can't just, they can't just go. They can't just do that. So there's stress. Stress invites conflict. That's the source of all the addiction and the violence and everything like that. That's the source of it all. in this area, man. It's kind of fucked. So yeah. Sick, sad world. There's good things about this area, man. Like I want to say that right now, that there are good things about the Aberdeen, the northeastern South Dakota area. I wouldn't have, decided to move back here if there weren't. I love Aberdeen, like I said, but there's a dark side, man. I even love Redfield. Sorta. There's a dark side to it, man. There's a dark side to it all. But it's just so much easier when you live in a more metropolitan place to, I don't know, man. There's more to keep you occupied in the ways of your mind, in the ways of, what kind of jobs you can get. I mean, there's just so much more stimulation around those places that there's not as much of a dark side in the ways of depression and all that shit, man. It's weird. At least in my eyes. You might think I'm wrong. I think I'm maybe 50% right. But I stand by it. That's my opinion. So, I don't know. Thanks for listening, guys. I just wanted to kind of get that off my chest hairs. Thanks for listening. It was good to just kind of have a nice little solo moment again. But I want to thank fucking Will Robinson. And I want to thank Tim Reinbold and Scared of the Dark and Sherry Keenan for all coming on my show. And I'm going to have some more guests. Ish the Stomach wants to come on the show. And Johnny Roden wants to come on the show. And my buddy Dan might want to come on the show. And so, yeah, I got it. And there's a bunch of other people too. So, and if you want to come on the show and we haven't talked about it or not, let me know. And I'll let you know when/if we can make that happen, So, you guys have a good one. This is Tony Tubes. It's 4/29/2019 at 10 o'clock exactly p.m. And, yeah. It was a good little talk. Hope I didn't piss y'all off. But I have hope. I have hope for all of us. But, yeah, you guys take it easy. And I'm going to put a quick little pitch for or a little blurb about the Sioux Empire podcast here in just a second to help support those guys over there in Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls. Where's the hideout, Mickey? Sioux Falls. Sorry. But hey, you guys take it easy. Tony Tubes, Redfield, South Dakota, the Dakota Podcasting Experience. This episode of the Dakota Podcasting Experience is brought to you by our friends at the Sioux Empire Podcast down in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Check them out on YouTube as well as the SiouxEmpire.com. They're also on Facebook. And also check out their new podcast coming out in September called the Edge Case Podcast. I'm really looking forward to it. So enjoy this short clip and then we'll get to the show.
At the fringes of perception, beyond the boundaries of your mind, just past the glow of the firelight, out of the corner of your eyes, you will find an edge case. Edge Case Podcast coming September 10th. Learn more at edgecasepod.com.